Hello everyone! My name is Leo Donleon. I'm an MTT coach of the Academy of Poker. In the previous videos we've been talking about poker combinations and streets in poker, and today I'm gonna tell you some info about preflop actions. But first let me remind you that the Academy of Poker is holding its own free rolls with a guaranteed prize pool of $1,000 each. You don't need to make a buy-in, it's totally free, and all you need is just to make an application using the link in the description of that video. And our managers will contact you and you'll get an invitation on your email. But let's move back to our action. First is posting blinds. Blinds are forced bets that you have to pay even if you don't like your starting cards. Normally you should post big blind and small blind. Small blind is usually half of the big blind, and because of that blinds, poker is still working, because two of the players of the table have to protect their blinds and all the other participants of the game want to steal it. If, for example, we would play without blinds, then there would be no any sense of playing without pocket aces or pocket kings. But just because the blinds, the poker is working, as I said. So that's the first kind of action that we can do pre-flop even if it is forced. The second kind of action is bet. It's when you're putting some chips at the middle of the table on your own will and you want to attack your opponent, you want to steal blinds. Normally your betting range from early positions should be tight and from late positions should be really wide. But all you need to remember from today's video is that the size of preflop bet should be at least 2 big blinds, but you can bet more if you want. At the end of that video I'll give you a small tip about preflop bet sizings for MTTs. Third kind of action is called call, when you are not first to act and somebody raised before, but you like your cards and you want to take part in that action. Then you should put the same amount of chips that the previous raise was. So it was bet 4 chips and you have to call with at least 4 chips. Sometimes I'm facing with players who do like to gamble and like to see almost every flop. And they are calling not the previous raise, but they are calling the amount of big blind. And this action is called limp. Limp means that we are calling the amount of the big blind. And if you are a starting player, I don't recommend you to use that strategy except of 2 situations. First, when you're sitting on a small blind, you can split your strategy between raising and limping. And if your stack size is low and you're sitting on late positions. But we'll talk about the advanced strategy on our educational course. Not today. Today we are talking about the basics. If we move back to the situation where it was raised pre-flop, we can re-raise that. And normally you have to re-raise your opponent's bet at least 3 times. Like if he's betting 200, we can re-raise for 600. And it's called not just re-raise, it can be called 3-bet. And if we are sitting in position, normally I would suggest you to use 3x 3-bet at least, or 2.5 if your stack sizes are not so big. And you need to be careful that 3-bet doesn't mean that we should 3 times x 3-bet our opponent. It just means the third re-raise. Like first it was blinds, second it was your opponent's raise, and third it's your re-raise. That's why 3-bet. If, for example, we would be out of position, I suggest you to use 4x 3-bet. So we are putting a little bit more chips in the middle of the table, but it's still called 3-bet. If, for example, I want to re-raise my opponent's re-raise, it would be calling 4-bet, like I'm betting the 4th re-raise. Next kind of action pre-flop is called check. Check means that, let me move it back, that, for example, our opponent on a small blind decides to limp. And we are sitting on a big blind, so we have put the same amount at the middle of the table as our opponent did. So we can just say check or just tap on the table, and it means that we are skipping our turn and we want to see the flop. Also, if you are playing post-flop, you can skip your turn with the same move and it will be called check again. And finally, as I promised you, I want to tell you a small tip about preflop bet sizes. If you are playing MTTs, you have to play with different stack sizes: 50, 30, 20, 10 big blinds, and I'd suggest you to choose your bet size depending on your stack size. If your stack size is more than 50 big blinds, I'd suggest you to use 3 big blinds open raise. Then, if your stack size is from 30 to 50 bigs, you should raise 2.5 till 2.7x. If your stack size is 20 till 30 big blinds, I suggest you to use 2.2, 2.5 big blind raise preflop, and if your stack size is less than 20 big blinds, then just use min raises. It means that you are just putting 2 big blinds. And small explanation here about small blind, it's like an exception. If you're sitting on a small blind, you have to bet at least 2.5 big blinds, even if your stack size is 20 or 25 big blinds. It's just because of the price that you're giving to your opponent. If it will be too cheap, he will call you with almost any 2 cards, and it's not what you want. And last for today, we forgot about all-in button. It means that we are putting all our chips at the middle of the table, and it means that we'll definitely see the showdown if somebody calls us. That's all for today, thank you for watching, and if you like our new format, then leave the comments below that video. Also, don't forget that the Academy of Poker is holding its free rolls with a guaranteed prize pool of $1,000, and all you need is just to leave an application using the link in the description. See you in next videos.